Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. All right, so Saturday edition, Lakers versus Spurs. Of course, this is one of those very, very, very rare occasions where you have the same team playing back to back in the same building, um, let alone in back to back nights. When you see something like that, you at least see a day and a half between, or something like that. Maybe it would be in a different building. They would be home and away, but no, not in this case. Two games back to back in San Antonio. We had one last night, got the victory. Um, Felt moderately good about the game. I guess it felt like a loss to me because of how we played, and what we were up against was a team that absolutely wanted to lose. So when you're going up against a team that wants to lose and you do things the wrong way, it's not going to turn into anything that would otherwise hurt you. So that's what we ran into. If we would have played against a team that wanted to win, I think we would have had a much different outcome, to be honest. But since the San Antonio Spurs are constructed uh, for a tank mission, we were able to get away with a lot. The good things that we can say we did for ourselves, shot pretty well from the field. So that's one thing we could say. We rebound the ball okay. 49 rebounds as a team, which is above our regular average. What else did the Lakers do? We put ourselves in a position to play some good defense here and there. Some guys had key steals, multiple steals, that kind of thing. Anthony Davis's numbers are still very high, even though we brought Braun back. We were able to keep him playing at a high level. Lonnie Walker was fantastic, returning back to San Antonio, putting up huge numbers. 18 points, 4-6 threes, I believe it was, or something like that. High efficiency. So it's just a lot of stuff that you can take away and say, all right, we like what we saw there. Troy Brown's efficiency was good in this game. Kendrick Nunn is continuing to get some buckets. And that's what I wanted to say, looking at the stat sheet. That's really what it is for the Lakers. To get something from guys like that. Because, one of the things we said about the Phoenix Suns game was that we had issues with players not being able to account for any scoring. And one of the things that I said in regards to the beginning of the season, excuse me, was calling on Austin Reeves to be accountable for some scoring, both with his pass and his ability to score himself. So that's really what it is. You're getting something from everybody. AD can give us something. Braun could give us something. But we need to be able to get scoring from everyone so that this team can be able to compete from night to night basis. So when we have 0 for gophers, as I said in that Phoenix game, anybody that comes out there and is just not able to accomplish anything, we're going to lose. And a lot of nights, that's what our problem is. So when I see 10 points from Troy Brown, or I see 8 points from Kendrick Nunn, I look and maybe see 10 points from Wenyen Gabriel. That's the type of stuff that I need from those players on a consistent basis. And if we get that, we're going to be fine. Because the rest of what we need from our stars is going to come. They're going to be consistent. They're going to be able to close games. They're going to be able to do a lot of things. But what they can't overcome is a lack of production from multiple teammates from night to night. So that's ultimately what it is. You can see the correlation between a bunch of guys having no scoring and the Lakers losing games. And when we have 7 and 8 players in double figures, we won. So it's one of those things. So that, who do you trust? That's one of the things that we've been talking about this week, making sure that we run the right players on the floor for what it is that we're doing. Obviously, with Patrick Beverley missing his second game now with the 3-game suspension, we can expect to see more Dennis Schroeder as he started in the last game. And I thought he did some good things, particularly passing the rock. He didn't, hurt us in those areas at all. And so we want to continue to see him get in rhythm and ultimately get more acclimated to what we do, and hopefully not be a defensive liability. So that's key. We did not play Thomas Bryant last night. I know he's coming back from the thumb injury just like Dennis is, but I do think it's important that we use Thomas Bryant regularly, as of course we need size on the floor to help AD, so he doesn't have to play center position himself. So we got to use Thomas Bryant. His efficiency has been very good since returning. I don't see any reason not to play him. So that's something I'm looking at as well. I want to continue to see Russell Westbrook looking for AD. as we talked about greatly yesterday. He was looking for Anthony Davis on multiple plays. Some of them connected, some of them didn't, but the intent was important. We got to keep the big man engaged, and he's not going to get the ball unless guys feed him the ball. And he'll get his rebounds, stuff like that, tip-ins, but to keep him rhythmically engaged and to keep him at the level that he's at, it has to be guards and forwards intent on getting him the ball. So that's ultimately what I'm going to be looking for the rest of the season every night. And any night I don't see that, we will call it out. Now, the key now for this particular matchup is to stay healthy, of course. It's the second game of a back-to-back, so I don't know if the same guys will be playing as they did last night. Maybe we decide to scratch somebody like Bron or AD at last minute to keep them from playing in a back-to-back. But given the fact that wins are so important for this team, the strategy in my mind is to capture the wins you can capture for certain, and then more or less the games that you know you can't win are the games that you sit players in. It's almost like you consider it the opposite, because it's so important that we capture the ones we definitely can capture, and the ones that you know you cannot capture, it probably is more advantageous to probably rest players in my opinion, when you got what we got going on. So this is a game I would hope that all of our guys would be ready to go and play at a high level in the game at halftime, so we don't have to have them play in the second half. That would be ideal in my mind. So yeah, continue doing more of the same. The San Antonio Spurs are going to do things that hurt themselves purposefully so they can lose. What we need to do is stay healthy. Plain and simple. We've seen this team twice already this week. We know what their get down is. They're going to launch a lot of shots. They're going to brick a lot of shots, and there's going to be opportunities for us to rebound the ball because of it. They got Devin Vassell out there now. He's healthy. Jakob Poeltl's back. He didn't play in the first game. He played a little bit last night. Played pretty good. I'd expect they're going to use him again tonight, probably a little more so. But at the end of the day, they're just trying to get through their schedule. They don't want to win. They've structured their team to play losing basketball purposefully. They've constructed their roster to have a losing outlook every game. And that's it. So the key to teams going into their building is to take the temperature at the beginning of the game to make sure they're not trying to be competitive that night. And once you realize they're not, stay healthy. Stay absolutely healthy. That's the only goal. So that's really what I have to say, man. I mean, this is not going to be one of them situations where you have to overly think about this particular matchup. We just saw this team less than 24 hours ago. We know exactly who they are. Isaiah Roby is somebody who's popped off the screen a little bit last night for their bench, but the story for their team was the starters scored double figures. Everybody did. And the bench basically did nothing. That's kind of how that game went for them. As I said, I saw some things from some of their bench players on the defensive side, like Collins jumped off the screen a little bit defensively in a couple sequences, stuff like that. But their team is undermanned and built to lose. So that's what it's going to be. We didn't see Josh Richardson. I hear he's dealing with some type of injury that's going to probably keep him out for this one. Doug McDermott didn't play in that game, so they were just really, really low on talent. Bass, he played a little bit last night, as we talked a lot about him. I expect he'll get more minutes tonight because of the little minutes he had last night. Same old same. Trey Jones will be out there doing the stuff that he did last night. As I said, he's somebody who makes players better and takes the ball from you. So you got to be careful these guys that they have on the team, and that's what it is. We saw last night a little bit of what it was that I was describing in regards to them having good defensive players but a bad defensive scheme. We saw moments in the third quarter where some of those defensive players were able to flex a little bit against us, tie us up in corners and things of that nature, put us in situations where we had to force the ball out of the players' hands that we had it in. The San Antonio Spurs do not compete, but if they decide to compete, they can. A guy like Devin Vassell is more than capable of hitting a last-second jumper to win a game or something like that. Keldon Johnson's more than capable of actually scoring the basketball, even though he's playing the worst basketball of his life, as to which I think he's doing it on purpose, but whatever. But Jakob Poeltl is somebody who's a big-time player who can definitely have a huge game, an all-star game on you. So it's like, I don't expect San Antonio to do anything different than they did last night. These are easy losses for them, and they want those. But if for some reason, you know what I mean, they decide they want a victory tonight, there should not be any reason why they cannot compete, and that is why you definitely take the temperature early. If they want to compete, you make sure they don't. That kind of thing. We bring to them whatever it is we need to bring to them, and we keep our foot on their neck. And the turnovers, 22 turnovers. I don't think that we can pat ourselves on the back just because we got a W when you turn the ball over 22 times against a bad basketball team. Nah, you got to see that for what it would otherwise do on most nights, which is cause you a loss, possibly a very embarrassing one. So that's why I say what we do and how we look at what we're doing should not be hanging on wins and losses because of this environment of tanking teams. This is exactly what I've referred to when I said that about this particular season. You got to ignore the result of the basketball game this season in most cases because half of these teams are tanking, like literally half of them. Some of them that ain't tanking right now will be by the end of the season, that kind of thing. So it's like you just got to work against your own tendencies so that when you get to the playoffs and it's winning time, you're not psyched out by the illusion of all those damn victories that you've gotten from teams that didn't want to win at all. You got to be working against your own damn tendencies. And so that's what we're looking at. We've taken some steps backward in the three-point line over the last couple games as it pertains to our discipline. 29% from the three last game, I believe it was, against the Spurs. Got to get back to a space where we feel comfortable. We're up in the 36 to 40 range. If that means we're shooting less, let that be the case. We can win games without making a whole lot of threes. We've already proven that to ourselves. We just got to shoot a good, disciplined amount that give us the space and ultimately make the ones that we can take. Austin Reeves' three-point shot didn't fall last night after having a couple games where it did. So hopefully he can get back to his shooting ways and have it fall tonight in that building. But leaning on Lonnie Walker's smart. He's very comfortable there. Obviously, this is the building he's played in his whole career. Even though it looks totally different than anything he ever wore when they wore that uniform. But at the end of the day, this is where he's made all his money and all his shots. And leaning on him to shoot comfortably in this building is proven to be successful for us. So I'd say go right back to him. It's a wonderful thing having some bad teams to run into so that you can play bad against them and still see victories. But what you don't want to do is be psyched out by that. You don't want to be psyched out by that. Just like we say in certain losses when we do great things, you want to be excited about that as if you got the victory because against your own tendencies, you really were successful. And if you would have played against a team like San Antonio, you'd have blew them out. So it's like that's why we don't care about wins and losses in that regard. We just want to make sure we're getting better, incrementally better in the areas we need to, and are slotting players in as they come back in ways that are responsibly giving us good looks matchup-wise, because that's a weakness of ours. We got a lot of players coming in and out of the lineup, and trying to get them worked into the equation sometimes leaves us at a disadvantage and leaves other guys without getting in rhythm. So that balance is hard to find, but that's the equation. So yeah, I like what I saw. The game plan was good last night against a bad team for the most part. We just got to clean up the turnovers, and half of that is coming from LeBron James. You have 6 turnovers in the first half. I mean, you already hurt the team with that. Whatever, you botched the whole team's average on that one. So for him, he said it was, listen to what he was saying, it was about the rhythm of his passes and things of that nature, and just ultimately getting back in it. And when you look at his plus minus, he was a plus 16 just like AD was. So if you have 9 turnovers and you're a plus 16, that means you pretty much did everything else right. So got to give Bron credit, even though to the eye test, them 9 turnovers really did keep the game close. So for him, he accepts that he's going to turn the ball over a lot, just like Russell Westbrook. A lot of players who handle the ball are going to turn it over a lot. But what I would challenge him to understand is what I've said a million times, is that when he turns the ball over with this particular roster, those are possessions we can't get back and oftentimes don't make up. So I would not accept being a high turnover player with this roster. I would do everything I can to assure that my turnovers are down. If that means not taking certain passes that I would otherwise take most years, that may give us a higher chance of the ball turning over, then that's just something he's going to have to temper for this roster. Because the turnovers that he gives us, if he's averaging 5, 6, 7 turnovers, we're going to lose games. Our team is not built to sustain that. And that's something that I know that's part of his game. Like, Bron going to be Bron, but just like everybody else in any situation, once you realize the piece you are is bad for where you're at, you can either stay the way you are and be bad or try to do something to make yourself fit. And that's what the equation is for him. Just like Russell Westbrook trying to start for our team. It don't work. It'll make you feel better, but the team is going to be bad because of it. And it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with just how things are around you. So Bron's going to have to understand them turnovers and long threes and all that stuff. It's not harmless here, man. It's not harmless. And simply saying that's who I am, that you're going to lose. You know what I'm saying? That ain't going to cut it. We got to change. You got to be the GOAT and be what we need you to be. That's what GOATs can do. They can morph into something else if they need to. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. He needs to morph into a more pass-first, high-efficiency version of himself. And that's what's going to help this team come together. You know what I mean? That's what it is. AD, number one. That's our number one option. Period. Playing the percentages, AD is the higher efficiency player. He gives us the easier path to make buckets. He's harder to defend at this stage. You got to get him the ball more than AD, than Bron. I saw Bron shot more attempts than AD did, and so did Lonnie Walker. Lonnie was on fire. Bron is Bron, so I'm never going to say those guys can't, on certain nights, have more attempts than AD. But for the specific roster, for the problems that we've had through the first 20 games of this season, no. Simply no. I want AD taking the most shots for this roster. And like I said, Bron could still be Bron. Just up your assist, man. For every shot you otherwise would have made, turn it into an assist. And you still keep the same efficiency, if not higher. Because we all know if assists count in a major way. So that's what I would say, man. I've never seen LeBron James average double-digit assists in his career. I've never seen him do it. He's supposed to be the greatest passer of all time. I ain't never seen the man average double-digit assists, not one time. I challenge him to try to do that with this year's roster from here on out. I'm not as impressed with 30-point games as I am with 10 assist games with him right here because of what we need and how him looking for his points ultimately takes away possessions from this team with the inefficiency, particularly from behind the arc. Those same 3-point shots, if he turns them into assists and hockey assists for other players, those are better quality possessions for us, and you will see more effort on the defensive end from other guys because of it, man. And you will be able to play less in the fourth quarters of these games, thus staying healthy throughout the season, man. I'm trying to tell you. So, this is why I want LeBron James to make the sacrifice. Pass more, shoot less, turn the ball over less if possible. If possible. You know what I'm saying? And just simply accepting and saying, "No, I'm not able to do that because that's not my functionality." I would say, well, then you're not the GOAT. You ain't the GOAT. Because the GOAT gonna do what he have to do to be who he needs to be for his team so he can win. Period. Because we got to beat the other team, so that's what's required. So if he has to grow wings and fly, damn it, that's what he got to do. So you know what I'm saying? That's all I accept from him. He ain't, with respect to other players, he ain't none of these other dudes. It's not like I'm asking Kendrick Nunn to turn to LeBron James. No, I'm asking LeBron James to be LeBron James better. And damn it, if you're the pinnacle, you should be able to do that right now. Because when I asked Kobe to do it right now, he did right now. Turn into a facilitator. Okay, B, got it. It wasn't no, well, I kind of want to shoot this shot. No. You're going to pass now. We need you to assist. Be an assist man. And Kobe wasn't no assist man. Bron, he's touched by God as an assist man. So it's like, this shouldn't be something we're asking him to do that he has to like make an adjustment. No. Do what you do best. Often. More often than you do. And see to it that our team is successful because of it. And that is what I'm asking him to do for this right here. That's it. So, that's what it is, man. And you'll pass Kareem, bro. I promise. You're going to pass Kareem, and we're going to be so much happier on that day because we've done everything right leading up to that point. And that's what I want him to understand. We ain't going to give a good god dang about him passing Kareem if between now and then we're a bad basketball team. But we don't have to make a single trade, not one single trade. And we can be happy with him passing Kareem on that day if he makes the sacrifices I'm asking him to make right now. Whenever that day comes, whether it be this season or next season, it's going to be one or the other. We're going to have much more love for that moment if he makes these sacrifices right now. And doing things the right way brings about the right energy, I believe. I can't prove that talking about no sports, but I think it does. So that's what it's about, man. Everybody else has made sacrifices on this team. I've watched Westbrook have to swallow his pride and come to work every day in a bad state of mind all last year just to be a part of this thing. Still probably won out, can't leave. All the sacrifices, you know. And Bron, this thing is built around you, brother. And we're asking you to make a sacrifice. It's built for you. And we're asking you to make a sacrifice. For real, for real. And I think he can make it, man. I'm not asking him to turn into a three-point shooter. I'm asking him to turn into a passer. That's what's up. So it is what it is, man. He can do that. That's what I'm saying. That's not outside his wheelhouse. So starting tonight, I want to see him feeding the ball to Anthony Davis. I want to see him looking for Anthony Davis. I want to see him intent on finding Anthony Davis like other players would be intent on finding him. I want him to find the urgency as if he has a LeBron James to adhere to, because that's what's going to get him the victory. You know what I'm saying? It's about swallowing one's pride. It's about doing what's difficult to do. It's about stepping outside of one's comfort zone. It's about pulling teeth out, pulling nails out, if you got to, because that's what's required to be a champion. You know what I mean? We can't do it any other way. And I do not believe in looking at how Anthony Davis is playing and looking at what I've known from LeBron James over the years and looking at Russell Westbrook and how he has never been a champion. Even though he's been to a finals once, he's never been a champion. And how hungry he probably is to see this situation succeed, even though it doesn't seem like many paths to it are possible. What I'm telling you is, there's only been about 3 games that the Lakers have played in that I thought they absolutely couldn't win. 3 games thus far. And what I'm also telling you is, we've had one of the hardest schedules. Meaning that some of the teams that we're going to see are the teams that we need to beat. We can beat them. Not all of them, but a good portion of the teams that I felt we ran into, like the Clippers, you got to beat those guys. Portland, when we first saw them, yeah, we can beat them. When we play well, when we play like who we are right now, we have the personnel to give them a run for their money in a 7-game series. And so that's what I'm saying. It's like certain teams, like I'm not certain we can really beat Utah when they're flexing. The way that they're constructed, we just don't match up well with that type of 3-point shooting. They're going to score a lot. You know, teams like New Orleans, they got so much young talent. It's going to be hard for us to match up against them with this roster. But other teams, these Nets and these Rockets and some of these other squads, little squads, you know, whoever they are, San Antonio's, we could beat them every single night with the roster we have. Every night. We're better than those teams, even though we have what we have. If AD and Bron are playing like AD and Bron. So it's like, look, man, we need so much because we're assuming those guys aren't going to be the pinnacle stars. Simply plain. We walk under the assumption that we're getting 16 and 10 from AD and this type of production from Bron and need to find a way to build a champion. That's why it's impossible. But if Anthony Davis is playing like New Orleans Anthony Davis and LeBron James is playing like some good version of LeBron James, well, then you actually do have enough. Because it's not 16 and 10 AD you're dealing with. It's 30 and 18 and 5 blocks AD that you're talking about. So it's like, it's all about how they play. It's all about how healthy they are. You know what I'm saying? And if they're who they're paid to be, then obviously we're one of the top teams in the NBA, because there's no way to beat those guys when they're playing like their best. You know? Nobody's expecting them to be their best, and so that's what it's about. It's about Anthony Davis continuing to be his best because he's playing that right now, and LeBron James not taking away from that so that we can win basketball games. And, you know what I mean? That's where we're at. That is exactly where we are. I want to see more of him trying to work himself, LeBron James that is, work himself into the equation as a facilitator and try to score all of his buckets in the paint. I saw last night he tried to do some things that I thought was a good thing. You know, his intention in the middle of the play was to talk to the referee about a situation where he didn't get the layup call, right? But he got his butt back on defense. And that's what I'm asking him to do. You can scream at them from your defensive positioning on the other side of the floor. That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying that he's going to be able to shut this bad habit of complaining to the refs off. But what I'm saying is, let's make sure that what we're doing does not affect the latency and timing of plays as they occur in real time. When it's a transition bucket, a transition situation, he's got to get back, man. I know they didn't give you the call. They didn't give me the call either. I'm on your team. But I need you to get back on defense so that we don't give up a play on top of what it is that they didn't do for us. And that's where LeBron James needs to stop allowing himself to compound his own failure by hurting that. You know, in protest of the play, he's also giving up something else. And so that's what we're saying. I don't know why that wasn't articulated so often in other places, because he did it everywhere he was. But here, we will talk about it, man. We will articulate it in such a way. Because we've seen other players do it too. Kobe used to do it sometimes too, and we would get on his case, man, get back. Don't worry. They're never going to change the call. I remember a million times my mother would sit there yelling at the screen, Kobe, they ain't going to change the call. They ain't gonna change the call. That was one of her favorite things to say. They never gonna change their mind, Kobe. So you got to. It's the same thing for Braun in 2022. They never gonna change their mind, man. Mama was right. They don't, but they will give you a technical for that, which compounds our problems even further. So we just got to be disciplined in how we react. And call a timeout if you have to complain. I would rather your coach and us be mad at you for calling a timeout so you can complain than for you to give up a 4-point play or a transition bucket because the refs didn't give you a call. I just no. We want to be intellectually competitive, and we want to know what helps us. So that's what I want to see. More of him working on those little things that make him a more effective teammate. Keyword, teammate, man. There's a lot of guys who are swallowing their pride so that they can fit into LeBron James's program. It's time for him to do that for them. It's time, simply put. So that's what I'm looking to see, man. You know, I like what I've seen from my team and from a winning perspective. We're finding ways to get victories one way or another, whether it's given to us or not. We're not blowing them, so that's good. We must continue to get in transition. We got to give up less offensive rebounds tonight. We gave up far too many offensive boards in that last game. Box out. The emphasis has been on the rebounding all week long. We've done a good job, but there are areas for us to improve, and keeping them off the offensive glass is definitely an area of improvement. So that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, man. Devin Vassell, his shooting ability. Sohan, the turnovers, we gave him, I think, 4 or 5 steals we were allowed him to force. So we got to keep an eye on that young rookie. He's very active. He can't shoot a lick. His 3-point shot, he had one fall last night, but from what I read, Spurs fans are historically frustrated with him through 20 games or whatever it's been because he's been bricking threes and continuing to take them. So as we learn, we adjust. Leave Sohan behind the arc until further notice. If he can hit him, he can hit him. If not, we can take advantage of that. Keldon Johnson, pretty much the same thing. Even though Keldon Johnson's profile is a very, very, very lethal 3-point shooter, he's in an extremely historical slump, as we've talked ad nauseum about. So as long as he's continuing to brick shots, we need to leave him out there. You know, simply put, you've got to treat teams like they treated us at the beginning of the season. If they can't shoot, leave them out there. You remember how Denver was defending us during our bad stretch in the first 5 games? They were leaving us out there to shoot. Dare y'all to shoot. Keep shooting. Y'all want to shoot? Cool. That's the best way to defend y'all, is to pack the paint and let you shoot. Keeps us healthy, keeps y'all missing, keeps us rebounding and in transition. And that is ultimately what we need to do with San Antonio tonight. We learned yesterday they can't shoot a lick. We learned in 3 games ago they couldn't shoot a lick. They can't shoot a lick, simply put. So that's pretty much it, man. And that doesn't account for everybody on their team. Trey Jones can hit a 3. All those players are profile shooters. They just are not hitting shots, period. So until they prove otherwise, that's what it is. Man, that's what I got to say, man. I don't think it's a whole lot more to add to it. Obviously, the game is at 5 o'clock, just like last night. Same building, hopefully a different floor. We've talked a whole lot about them ugly colors. I don't particularly like them, and I think black and white San Antonio is the way to go at all times. So that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it, but I do like our white jerseys. I think we're 3-0 in those. We continue to get victories in those Los Angeles uniforms. Hopefully we can wash those and wear something different tonight. But all in all, I'm just excited about staying healthy, getting an easy victory tonight with a tanking team that's hell-bent on getting Wembanyama. So let's get the victory tonight, man. Stay healthy. BDL44. Thank you all for watching. Wow.